Good morning, my friends. It's early Saturday morning, and I thought no better time than to get started on my can of worms. I doubt I will clean them all out today, but I used to, and it used to take me about 3 or 4 hours to have everything cleaned out. This is the top layer, has a lid that goes on top of it, and that's the latest food that's been added. As of this morning, there was some coffee grounds and a coffee filter, and then this is the center layer, the center layer, and then this is our bottom layer, and this is the one that is the most composted, the most worked with. And then you get down to the bottom, which is actually a well, but for anybody who has one of these, you know that the worms go down into it. I mean, this every one of these has holes in the bottom of it, and so the worms drop down and they drop down below, and that's into this well. And even though I don't really add any water to it anymore, they still seem to find their way down, and from just fruits and vegetables and things that uh, are mainly consist of water, they go down here. But you can see it has been probably 3 months, and look at how thick those castings are. I mean, this is it's full of worms, um, and it's mushy. It's like pudding, and the worms are just sticky. So that they're sitting in their own waste. It's certainly time to go through all of this. So I'm going to do that today, and hopefully take you along for the ride. So here we are back again, and I wanted to show you, let me just get my other glove on here, and I wanted to show you that if you're just going to scrape along and try to harvest, now these are still too wet. Some people let their stuff dry out. I don't. I just kind of go through mine and harvest it and see how much of this tremendous castings I can get. As you can see, I've got worms in there, and I just kind of go through it and I pull my worms out and try to get the best I can. And I will come back. I will come back and do this with the worms again. And a good thing to do, and I can see that I'm jumping on this much too quickly, but a good thing to do is to come out and put this out I should have put it out about 6 a.m. and then come back 9:30, 10 o'clock, and the worms would be down in there further, and I would be able to process much more without running into my little friends. It really, they're light sensitive. For people who who are worm farmers, worm enthusiast, vermiculturalist, whatever you want to call us, crazy Aunt Peggy. It's The worms are light sensitive. They don't have eyes, but their bodies, their skin is light sensitive. And the fear is that they will dry out. So there's then that innate fear. They're not sitting down with a book and their mother is telling them, oh, remember, don't forget to drink your orange juice in the morning. Don't forget to drink whatever. It's just that primal knowledge that says don't dry out, because if you dry out, you'll die. And the urge of self sustainability. So as you can see, I'm really not running into that many, and I should be able to harvest a good can worth of them. And these castings are just beautiful. Oh, no, there's a whole group. And I'm just doing this kind of like chunky, and then I'll go back through. Um, I bait them out actually. Put a strawberry in there, in the container, and the worms will cling to it. So when I count my worms and I get 1,648, you know that 49 and 50 are still in there. I'm glad everybody thought that was pretty funny that I counted worms. And AJ at AJ's Green Topics and Rick from Gardening with Bar Chuckin' wanted to know if I would come over to their homes, which are only probably, 1,800 miles away. So I'll come over and count their worms for them. I said, sure. What do I have to do? I have no life. I'll just count your worms. Sorry, I'm doing that off camera. So anyway, I'm not gonna hold you to watching all of this. I just wanted you to see how I go ahead and just start pulling it back, just layer at a time, just like I'm just skimming things right off the top, like you're trying to get like you're trying to skim grease off the top of your nice bone broth that maybe you've added a pork bone to, and you get a little bit of fat on top, and so you're skimming that off the top. Well, I do the same thing here. I'm not drinking anything down below, but it's just a layer at a time, and as you're pulling that back and exposing them, they're deep diving. They're going down lower and lower until you get down to the very bottom, and then, oh man, it's like you've got half inch or an inch of straight worms. So I'll bring you back in a little bit. Hello again. I'm back here. This has taken me about a half an hour. I've done this bin. This is the bottom bin. I've taken it down almost to the bottom, and I've also taken my gloves off so I don't want to get too poopy while I'm trying to handle the camera, and pulled off both. This is probably about 2 pounds, and I didn't weigh this one, but these, I got 2 of these, and it equaled about just over 8 pounds. So I've gotten about 10 pounds, I would think, so far. And I just wanted to start the camera up and just show you just how close this gets. Now I have these up on, I actually have like my wine cork tops, and it raises these up so that it's not sitting just on the table, because the worms do come down underneath it and I don't want them to be smushed. But I wanted to show you the worms that are still here, and if I do it with this claw, it just brings them up, and you can see. And what I'm going to do is incorporate the 2 bottom layers, which have both been harvested. So let me just do that. I'm going to show you this. Don't want to hurt them. So that pretty much takes this over here. Okay, hang on. Okay, now I'm over at the middle bin, middle layer, and what I did is I took all of the, I scraped that off just how you saw me do the top one, the bottom one rather, and then I started laying, these are my coffee filters that I've been giving coffee grounds to all the other worm bins, and so I don't really have a whole lot of coffee grounds for them, but I give them the coffee filters, and it still has a half an inch or so of coffee, maybe a quarter of a cup or half a cup. So every day they're getting that. and but it breaks it down. But I have so many of them that that they, I don't have a place to use them. So anyway, whenever I'm lifting these, and I make a nice little circle underneath, and then I go ahead and consolidate the bottom of the two bottom ones. The bottom one goes then to the center, which will become the new bottom. And you can hear me, but you can't see me. Sorry. And let me do something with this. I don't want to knock them over, but I do want to show you see if I can get this over and show you what the underneath part looks like. And this is the bottom. Can you see that? See all the worms that are there? Well, they thought they were hiding, so now you know where they're going. They're going into this container right here. And so I don't teeter-totter, I'm going to turn you off here a second. Okay, so now this is going to be our next bottom layer. So it's got all the worms in here, and there's a lot of castings that are attached to them. I just can't get it all apart. And as you can see, this this needs to come up some, because the worms, think about it, the worms can't fly. I mean, they can wiggle, they can squiggle, they can go along, but they really can't reach up and grab something. They seems like they can whenever they're doing my finger, but anyway, here this is I wanted to show you, this is the bottom layer. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to incorporate some of this. Next one is the top layer. I don't know if I can get you around here. Let me just take this off here for a minute. I'll pull it out and try to explain it. Okay. So now here, this was the top layer. This is the one I was feeding until this morning. So you can see it's getting nice and high, and I've already taken off a dozen or so of these coffee filters, and you can see how dry they get. But there are worms. This is pretty dry now, and you can see what's underneath. Do we see any worms? Yeah, you can see the worms are down there. Now what I want to do is use some of this to bring the level up on this one, so that when the worms that are in here, and you saw there were plenty of worms that were in here, and they've been hitting the light, so they're doing a dive. And so I want to bring this level up to, remember we said here, it's not this layer right here, this protrusion, but it's here. This is where the next one will sit, and here is the outside, and it shows you. So when it sits, it's going to sit right in there, and it'll come up to that level right there. And so now what I'm going to do is add on to the top here to give the worms, so that the level is high enough, so that when that other clean one, or actually this one, sits on top of it, that will be touching. They will touch, so that the top layer, if any worms come up and they see something, or they sense that there's food, they'll come through the holes and they'll come up to the next level. So let me do that, and then we'll show you where we're going there. Alright, so now I've added most of what was on the bottom here over into this one. This is going to be my bottom layer, and it's high enough now. And so what I'm going to do is just try to fluff these a little bit. This bottom section, I'm sorry, the bottom section over there, which is now the top section over here, was very dry. I just started to pull up some of the stuff that was underneath, and you can see, I mean, it's like Wormball City. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and incorporate the dry and the rather wet, and just kind of go around in a circle. Sometimes look at is that mycelium mold, nice mold under there, and seems to be a lot of worms, and so we've got that, and I think this will be plenty. I might add just a little bit of, oh, I don't know, that seems pretty moist, I guess. As moist as many of you run your bins, which in my world is very dry, but you seem to run them that way, and you're able to harvest your castings much easier than I do. So this is going to be my bottom layer. This is the very bottom. We'll call this number 3. Number 2, which was my number 1, has now become number 2, and it's going to go on top. I'll move this all in the house later, and it's basically all coffee filters, and it's probably, and I fluff them. I used to just layer them on top of each other, but I think this time we're going to fluff them and see what happens. And then on top of that is going to go food and the worms. So I will show you what the worms are going to look like. There's number 1. These all came out of the bottom. That was, plus what's still left in there. There's number 2. I would guess there's every bit of 1,648 worms. No, just kidding. I don't know how many there are, but there's quite a few. I was just I wasn't counting them. They were just coming out in handfuls. So, and I've still got worms all over the table here that will go in there and be not counted, but sent off to do their job. So anyway, that's I hope it for today. Let me pull this out of here. Come on, there you go. And you can see I still have 1 tray left. I washed this out, and then I just tried to use it again for my staging, and I still have this. So what I will do is for the next few weeks, this bin will get fed and layered, and then I'll turn over to the new bin. But probably tomorrow I will come back and disassemble the whole thing again and take this bottom out, harvest any castings I can, and then clean it out and start again. Remember, this goes into my kitchen, so I really don't want anything that is iffy. I don't want anything that's drawing bugs. Let me show you this lid though. Look at see the holes in there? So now think about it. You're a worm and you're coming up, and you have to try and jump from the lower level that isn't quite up to right here, and you can't make it. So you're going to stay where? You're going to stay either down in the lower level, or you're going to keep crawling down to hopefully find the way to go, because you don't have any eyes and you can't see. So anyway, if you put them, right to the kissing each other, one layer kisses the other, then they will find their way up through those holes. So that's it. Again, I hope you guys like this. I tried to figure out where my pause button was and how to use it. So for those of you who are interested in a can of worms, if you want to know any more information, please ask me. I'd be glad to help you. I hope you all have a great day and your adventure in worms is just beginning or continuing. If you like it, please subscribe and ring the bell. And I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.